The history of the Jewish people in Poland dates back more than 1,000 years. Poland has also been considered the cradle of Jewish culture and life, but this has gradually changed, of course, first with the partition of Poland in the 18th century, but obviously then what happened during the Second World War and the Nazi death camps. Today, the Jewish population in Poland is small in size, and the relations with Israel are currently strained. In today's program, we are going to discuss Jewish life in Poland, the diplomatic relations between Poland and Israel, but also Poland's critical position as EU's borderland both to Russia and Ukraine. With me in the studio today, I am honored to have the former Foreign Minister of Poland, Anna Fotyga, currently a member of the European Parliament. My name is Tomas Sandell, and this is the European Report. Anna Fotyga, again, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. We mentioned in the intro that Poland was once considered the cradle of Jewish civilization. You had a majority of Jews living in Poland. But today, of course, Jewish life in Poland looks it's very different. How would you characterize Jewish life in Poland today?
Well, I think that to characterize life of Jews in Poland, you have to mention that due to historic events, in particular Holocaust happening all over the world, but in particular on Polish territory where Hitler's troops in occupied Poland established the concentration camps for virtual annihilation of Jewish population. But rather small group of Jews were able to migrate to either territories of Palestine or to other countries, in particular US or Canada, but it was small number. Obviously, Holocaust was the cause of disappearance. So sorry for this very of Jewish community from Polish territory. Now there is a rather small group of Jews living in Poland, but I would say that I think that it is rational to tell that in contemporary times, Jews, taking into account all challenges, threats all over the world, consider territory of Poland as friendly territory with people who are peacefully turning to others, not hostile, with considerable, I would say, much less signs of anti-Semitism than happening in many places in contemporary Europe.
Including Brussels.
Including Brussels. I would like to name capitals or cities. I have very special proof, probably not so well known even to Poles, because I tried to dig. Remember, I used to be for decades a very close co-worker to the late President Lech Kaczyński. I was his foreign minister, meaning that we shared same views, same attitude, including our attitude to Israel and Jewish people also in many areas. I saw unbelievable reconstruction in Sanok of the century synagogue that originally was located in southeastern Poland, the wooden one and it was reconstructed by architects, people of art, according to old sketches and pictures, because it was destroyed by Germans during the Second World War. And it was rebuilt just a few years ago in a way that brings excursions of real groups of Jews coming to see this. In Przemyśl, also southeast of Poland, so very, I would say, Polish community nowadays, traditional, rather rural, although changing a lot, also because of threats. And key role of this region in assistance to Ukraine. But, for example, there are toys for kids, the paper puzzles of synagogues, and they are quite popular, actually, and also prepared meticulously, following old pictures, old sketches. Probably it is because in my region, my constituency, actually it was different social composition at that time. Gdańsk was the center of very bloody and also difficult history, so signs are not so evident. But we are aware of all of this, and actually I think that societal issues are much more important. That is why probably current authorities of Poland would like to see Israeli Jewish youth not only coming to Auschwitz, and many of them thinking about this as Polish camps, because they are in Poland.
We will come to that issue in just
to show them all those issues and traces of common history, because this history was very rich, fruitful, and actually benefiting both sides.
Completely agree. And of course, in Warsaw today, you have this new amazing Jewish museum. I've been to...
There are two museums.
Two museums.
One is also dedicated to ghetto only.
Yes. Want to say when we were in Krakow in 2015 and commemorating the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, we also had a chance to get to know the local community. And it's true, there's new life in Krakow, in the Jewish community.
Restaurants, klezmer's music,
right.
Everything.
And
is
another thing that I reflected on when I was in Poland is also a phenomena that, because there was such a huge loss of life and culture that happened. And in some cities, from what I understand, significant majority were Jewish. And so all of a sudden, within a few years, they were completely disappeared. And even today, they are organizing Jewish culture weeks in these cities. And I mentioned Kielce in particular, in Krakow as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, and this is, of course, universally, where the Jewish people are no longer with us, there is almost like a void, and the population wants to not so much commemorate, but celebrate Jewish life, even regardless of if they are there or not. So I just think it's worthwhile mentioning.
Yeah, sure.
But coming back to what you mentioned, today, of course, the majority of the Jewish people live no longer in Poland, but in the state of Israel, and the current diplomatic relations are not very easy, to put it this way. How would you explain the background to today's rather strained relations, and how can they be fixed?
Well, from my point of view, the state of Israel belongs to the collective West, to Western democracy. I simply, that is for us, for people like myself, it is visible here. We try with a variety of views. We keep very clear track, explaining the role of Israel in very difficult region. And I understand, I would say, priorities and constraints Israeli government places in the region. Also, considering variety of actors as important and worth turning to. The attitude of Russian Federation to Poland has been obvious, surely, since our very fervent support of Ukrainians, not now, this or previous year, but since the annexation of Crimea and war in 2014. So we were simply very clear supporters. I think that because of this, it was quite, in my opinion, significant Russian contribution also to pouring sand here and then. I saw it with my own eyes in many, also in Israel and in many places. I think that because of, for example, Iran's engagement in the war against Ukraine on Russian side, clearly. Iran is considered by experts together with Belarus and Venezuela as one of the most stable allies of Putin, of Russian Federation. And here we have already common threats and common assessment of situation. I'm engaged in monitoring policy of Iran, Ayatollahs, mullahs, not only internally with violations to human rights, but also in the region, meddling in the region, financing of terrorism, posing missile threats. And now we see kamikaze drones killing people and helping Russia to perpetrate war crimes simply against civilian community of this country. I am aware of actions taken by Vyacheslav, so Moshe Kantor, or Vyacheslav as he was called in Russia, playing very detrimental role in undermining also these relations. But generally speaking, I think that Israel also has to reconsider the role of Russia because of obvious weakening of this country, also weakening in future. The collective West is clearly against Russia in this war, standing by Ukraine. That's new members come to and join NATO because we consolidate. We consolidate knowing this threat. I think that future is to be better. And better understood. The social network, I think, is still there because many Jews consider Polish environment as friendly, and many Poles are, I would say, fascinated by Jewish culture. You know, when I started to learn about this culture, I was considered, I was a kid. And because there were no Jews in my surrounding, I simply started to read Bashevis Singer and others to detect what is missing in my society simply.
Wow.
So that's it.
You brought up an interesting point, which is not in my notes, but that's of course the role of Russia. Of course, I'm not a representative of the state of Israel, but nevertheless, of course, for them it's an existential threat. The whole situation in the region, if Russia was to withdraw from Syria, of course, with Iran in the region, they don't have many choices. But nevertheless, it's true, and I take your point that the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, which took place in Jerusalem, I think when people in retrospect look at it and that Poland was not there, and we had a few similar incidents, that's very regrettable. So I think it's a point to be made. But coming back to the current, I wouldn't call it a conflict, but nevertheless looking at realities in very different ways. There were statements made by a particular Israeli foreign ministers which were not very helpful, to say mildly.
Believe me, I'm very friendly, and even I myself, I was taken aback.
Yeah. So I think basically what I'm saying is the dilemma that we are dealing with is not unique for Poland. I could bring in Finland, my own country. You have a situation where we are victims. In the case of Poland, you have the highest number of righteous Gentiles of the nations. But the sticking point is then to say that, yes, they were enablers, not only in Poland, in Finland, other places as well. I wouldn't even use the strong word perpetrators, but say enablers, be it Poland, be it Finland, be it any other countries. How do we reconcile this equation? That is complex and is there a need for self-reflection in a way that both parties will have to give and take?
Well, when you speak about enablers, so-called enablers, we have to know that situation in countries like Poland and in the West was not the same, because Poles were targeted by Germans on Polish territory. We were under German occupation, and Polish society was a target of annihilation too. In my region, there is so-called Pomeranian crime by Germans in first weeks of September 1939. There were around 90,000 ethnic Poles liquidated because they were Poles. And for helping a Jew, it was the life sentence. So every person helping was immediately shot and on the spot without any proceedings, including infants of the family, because we have a family of 9 children in this Ulm family, and many families in the same village. There were hiding Jews, and all this family with 9 kids, small, bigger, and infants, was killed because of Jews found there. So to be heroic means being extremely brave, simply. Not all people are as brave as this. Yet, the number of Poles indicated as those rescuing Jews is the highest in the world. And now you see how we are able to rescue people, regardless of our own security, because obviously this kind of attitude of all Poles generally means nowadays also in Kremlin they tend to accuse us of everything. We are one of the most. So I think that generally speaking it was the same. At that time Poland was big and multi-ethnic. I of course I wouldn't like to say that none was engaged, but generally speaking Poland was the country that started to oppose Germans, German occupation and fighting against Germans, Hitler Germans, since the beginning since first until the very last day of war. And with the Polish underground state, because it was like this, for killing or helping to kill a Jew was a life sentence. Was death sentence for killing Jews, if any, or helping to exposing Jews to.
But if we lift it on another level to say that yes, one can be a victim, but one can at the same time be a perpetrator theoretically. So take the case of the Netherlands. Of course, there were many enablers.
No, it's absolutely different. There were no Nazi troops consisting of Poles.
But nevertheless, what I'm saying is that in the Netherlands, even under these circumstances, there were civil, population that helped the Nazis.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I think the point to where we need to elaborate and have more discussions is, of course, to say, and I want to make it very clear,
there is different problem, because we know that trying to make, let's say, us collaborators of Hitler was actually the policy of some factors, including some groups in Germany, to simply dilute their guilt.
Yes.
Same was with Russian communists wanting, or in KVD, wanting to put on us some smear campaigns as well. So yes, many things. We do have National Institute of Remembrance, and I think that from the good working together between Yad Vashem and Institute of Remembrance, there were very, very good scientific, I would say, real pieces of information with quite good agreed statements in Yad Vashem. From time to time, there are provocations by instigation of people like Cantor, for example. Because these incidents change. I think that collaboration is there. It is not automatic refusal of things. There is digging in documents, and but of this digging of documents, you also see the level of. I would say not only instigation, actually provocations by sometimes communist authorities, sometimes I would say other actors. So yes, collaboration and common work, historic work is the solution.
So I think it's worthwhile mentioning the Lados group. You are probably aware of Polish diplomats in Switzerland who, together with Jewish organizations, helped many Jews get false passports so they could flee to Latin America primarily.
We were experiencing this, you know, because this kind of actions were already during First World War to rescue some Poles from under it.
Of course,
so we know it.
Yeah, but it could be worthwhile an exhibition even here in the European Parliament.
Sure, sure,
and I think we, with only 2 minutes left, we have an agreement that, as you said, Israel and Poland definitely belong in the same camp, and in a day and age with so much polarization, we should find
much
ways.
More in common.
Absolutely, we should find ways of drawing close. And there, of course, we want to commend Poland for its role in receiving refugees from Ukraine and speaking as a Finn, you know, we share the border, and which makes our position very particular in these very difficult times.
I would like to thank you for joining NATO, because we feel much more secure.
Yeah, let's hope it goes all the way to. We still have some nations which are not too keen on having us in the club, but we hope that will also be so.
No, we'll overcome it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Foreign Minister Fotyga, for this very enlightening and constructive conversation. There still is a lot of work to be done to clear misunderstandings, to deal with issues which sometimes are difficult, but the bottom line is that Poland and Israel should work together. They are natural allies and friends, and together we will make sure that this will happen.
Absolutely.
If not tomorrow, within a year or two.
It usually takes time, but it is worth dedicating.
Absolutely. And this has been the European Report, where we have discussed Polish-Israeli relations, but also Jewish life in Poland. And my name is Tomas Sandell, and see us again next month here on the same channel. Thank you.
Thank you.